Hi, how you doing? This is Mitch from Hard Intentions YouTube channel, and we also have hardintentions.com for any of you people who would like to buy, some of our merchandise. And we have shirts, we have prints of my artwork, stickers, kind of cool. So if you'd like any of our merchandise, you can go to hardintentions.com. So to pick up where I left off, I kind of got to backtrack too because I've been working and driving all day down in the Sacramento area. It's part of my job. I drive pretty much all day. So I lost track of what I wanted to do, what I want to talk about. I did want to talk about the dude that they were pressuring, the sex offender dude they were pressuring because he had weed and big money sack. Yeah. It's kind of on the track of, the whole dope fiend thing. I work around a lot of drug addicts, man. I work around homeless people. I got to go around and kind of provide services for them, namely trash is for the communities that they're around. So because they generate a lot of trash and feces and, a lot of these people are drug addicts. And, when I was in LA, I worked around the same area. A lot of homeless people. And, amazingly, in LA, I saw guys that were homeless down there, tattooed down, been to prison, good woods, who were homeless, that recognized me from prison, a couple of them. By name, I was like, wow, I remember wearing Corker and all that shit. These were good stand-up white guys, So, I mean, I see the same kind of guys down here where I work, riding around on 10 speeds and little Schwinn Stingrays, and they're my age, and they're tattooed down with prison tattoos, and, I'm sure in prison they were stand-up guys. Yeah. But to me, stand-up guys don't shoot dope, and they don't let, sex offenders stay in the yard because they got a dope sack or a money sack. So anyway, also, these guys talk about, white this and white that and wood this and wood that, and, the wood's got to do this and wood's got to do that. And I used to tell people, my name ain't Wood. My name's Smiley and I'm a white man, period. But other than the other thing I want to say about Donovan before I split, the second time around that I was there. The first time I was there, it was cool, man. There was a lot of good homeboys there, and guys had their shit together and whatnot. But second time, like I said, everything was about dope, man. And it was like, it's hard to explain, It's like white guys didn't really give a fuck about a whole lot but dope. And the only time they would go get busy with another race was if the problem was they owed too much money to that race. They go out and start a riot so they could wash their drug debts away. But what was funny, this kind of backtracks back to Lancaster. I worked in arts and corrections for like 5 years. And the guys that came in arts and corrections that wanted to learn how to draw and paint and all that kind of stuff, they were pretty cool dudes, man. And I would have 10 to 15 guys in there. I had whites, Hispanics, Chicanos and Mexicans from Mexico. I had a few Native American guys. And I had black dudes in there to learn how to paint, man. And I remember one black dude in particular, I'd be walking the yard and be like, hey, teacher, because I was teaching them guys how to paint. So he, it was kind of embarrassing at first. But I got to know the guy a lot. I liked him, he's pretty cool. All the guys that came to my art class are pretty cool. And so he was in Donovan, And, he had it going on. He had like 3 murders, so he was never getting out. And he had a lot of stuff going on. He was a blood, he was from LA. He was the real deal, man. So I remember I go, so you're a blood? And he goes, I'm a blood, and not only am I a blood, I'm a Pyru. I was like, all right, And anyway, he had it going on Donovan. And, he's slinging a little dope, and all his homies are slinging shit, and, of course, the Hispanics, they got shit going on, and, the white dudes were just mainly the victims of the drug trade, And so all these tough guy motherfuckers, pardon my French, they're always loaded, and they're always owing. But, back in the day, they used to have food sales all the time. Every month we would have a food sale. San Quentin still does pretty much, but down in Donovan, they kind of eliminated the food sales. I mean, they were down like once or twice a year for whatever reason. When they have a food sale, what that does is you have money on your books, right? When people send you money, it goes in an account like a bank, but the state runs it, the prison runs it. And so they'll put out a list, like chicken, buckets of chicken, whatever, and so, or ribs or Mexican food, whatever the sale is, and they take the money off your books, and they inflate the price, and that's part of the money generated goes to a charity, like abused kids or whatever. It'll go to some charity, and that's the whole reason for having the food sale was to generate funds for charity, So, like I said, they had them once or twice a year down there, man, and so when they have them, they were a big deal. And I remember this one time, all these dudes that were all, stand-up good dudes, right? They all go out the yard, man, and they go and they had like ribs and shit, pulled pork, kind of, from this restaurant, whatever. I didn't order anything because I was getting ready to leave, I was saving my cash for hobby. I want to buy art supplies. I'd rather get up to San Quentin, buy art supplies with my cash than buy, food. But anyways, I go out the yard, right, and all these dudes, like the black dudes out in front of my building, they must have been 20, 25 miles. They had a table all set up, and then, the Mexican cats got their stuff, their tables all set up. I'm just out there walking the track, and I'm watching, and these white dudes go over there, man, and they get just a gang of shit, plates. It comes in styrofoam plates, and cases of sodas, and what do they do, I see them walking with a, Mexican cat. I see other guys going over the black guys area with laundry carts, man. I'm not kidding you. Laundry carts are big. They're filled up like halfway with this food. Pass it all out to the Mexicans. Pass the rest of it all out to the blacks. And I'm walking the track, I like to walk. And I see these black dudes, man, they just got piles of food. All from the white dudes. And so I'm like, really? That's how you get down? You spend your mommy and daddy's money on foods that you give to another race, right? So you can get high. I just thought that was the most disgusting shit, And that black dude I knew that I used to teach how to, to paint in Lancaster, he was there, and he was kind of, he had a crew. And you see me walk by and say, hey, what's up, Smiley? I say, all right, it's all good. And he goes, you get some of that shit? And I go, nah, it's all good. He goes, you want some? I'm like, sure. He ran over and grabbed me a plate. He goes, here you go. I say, thanks a lot, man. He said, no sweat, man. He goes, your people bought that shit anyways. It's like, wow. So I walked around the yard clowning them. I'm like, hey, man, you guys get in on that spread? White dudes bought a bunch of food, man. You guys get in on that spread? And I got this plate, and I shared it with my partner, Sparky. And they're all, no, where's it at? I said, white dudes bought a lot of shit, man. Laundry cart's full. You see, I forgot. They gave it all to blacks. And these are guys, too, that gave their stuff to blacks, or the Mexicans. So that's what drugs do to guys in prison, And then them same dudes that do that, I mean, to me, I would be humiliated to do that. To go and order and wait, because when you make the order on that, you got to wait like a month and a half to get the order, to have the sale date come, and it's a big deal, big event. And so to do that with my family's money and go give it away to anyone, even to my own race, I mean, I would be embarrassed to do that, to give it away so I could get high for a night or two. I mean, that would just be the most embarrassing thing, And, yeah, I just remember that stood out in my mind, that, and, I used to do things on that yard, man, with dudes. And, there were cats on that yard, man, that, the Chicano cats didn't like. And so I would sell dope to them, weed and tobacco and shit. And these guys would go to white dudes and make deals, and they get burnt, and they would come to me and go, hey, man, I'd like to buy some weed. I go, so what are you telling me for? Well, because they knew, I have a good reputation. I don't burn people, right? So I would middleman weed deals with this cat I knew. And I'd go give these guys their money, and I'd make, $50, $100 a pop, off these guys, off larger transactions. You do that a few times, it adds up. And I just threw that money in the bank, man, because I'm transferring, They're like, hey, man, white dudes aren't supposed to talk to that guy, or, we're not supposed to talk to this guy or that guy. I said, hey, look, man, I talk to whoever the fuck I want to talk to. Now, I'm not going to go and tell these dudes, hey, I'm selling that dude weed. Or if he had tobacco, and give me his tobacco so I could go sell it and then get weed for them, I'm not telling these guys. These are guys that suck money out of their families so they could buy dope, and then they go around when they don't have any money coming in, sniffing around to see who's got a fucking crumb they could stick in their arm. I'm good, dude. I'm not telling you a cat like that in my business, And finally I told me, whatever I do, it's none of your motherfucking business, man. And I had to threaten a couple of them, you keep trying to tell me what the fuck to do, I'm going to stick a hole in your neck. And they're like, what? I said, look, I'll just slide up behind you when you're eating and stick a hole in your neck. I'll stab you in the neck. Just back the fuck up off of my program, lame. I made a couple grand doing little deals like that before I left. But you got to keep all that stuff undercover, man, like close to your chest. Otherwise, all these dudes will be running, telling on you. They'll tell on you. They can't get up in your pocket, they'll tell on you. So that sucked, man. I hated that shit. But I see the same dudes out in the streets, that were running around tough guying it up in there. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I see them same style dudes out here running amok, in the ghetto. I mean, in the slums, not even the ghetto, in the straight fucking Skid Row homeless camps, and yeah, it's an ugly scenario. Today I had to get sidetracked, but I went to this place where there's homeless people, and they got just, the trash mountain is just growing and growing and growing, and there was one of them, these guys that I work with told me, man, that these guys abuse their animals, like their dogs and stuff. I found a dead dog there today. It really kind of upset me. Because I dig animals. Obviously, you guys see Chewy. I love Chewies. But I dig animals, period. So to see that kind of fucked me up today. But at least I was warned about it. So when I walked up on it, I saw it. I knew what it was. Yeah. Yeah, so when I got to San Quentin, man, there was a little crew of guys, and, like I said, my main thing was to go to San Quentin and start hobbying, And so the way prison is, I don't know about out here. I imagine you get a lot of the same things, but like when you're in prison, you're living around like 1,000 dudes. People get envious. When you're doing well, people start getting envious. If you start making money or get a little status somewhere, you got a little juice card through your job, people get envious, man. They start hating on you, And so in San Quentin, I kind of bullied my way into the hobby shop. And I kind of bullied the hobby manager, And I remember when I started doing woodwork in there, I told him, I just wanted to make picture frames for my art and this and that. And I did at first. I made picture frames and I'm putting stuff out, I would do little paintings and sell them for 25. I had paintings out there for $5, little tiny ones up to, 50, $200-300, and I got to where I could knock paintings out like no problem, And my back went out on me. I gave up my carpenter job. I was just hobbying. I got a little knick-knack job where I really didn't one of those jobs where you don't work. I think I had a job where I was to go collect all the trash cans and take them out at night, you know, in the building, and I would just give them youngsters a couple cigarettes to go do my job. That was so I could hobby all day, you know. And I would just go down there and hobby and make picture frames for my paintings and put them in the store. And then after a while, I started making boxes, you know, jewelry boxes. And then I remember when I first went in to order wood, I ordered a gang of shit. I ordered a bunch of 1/8-inch plywood that I could prime it and paint on it, and also use it for the bottoms of jewelry box drawers and stuff like that, trays. And that hobby manager kind of freaked out. He's like, "Man, you're ordering a lot of stuff here, you know." And I was like, "Yeah, you know." And he let me do it eventually. And then I started sweating him for a locker, and he gave me a locker, which is hard to get a locker. There's only so many lockers, you know. But I had a locker, I had a spot after a while. And dudes would just give me dirty looks, man, outside of their neck. And I just stare at them like, what, you know, what the fuck? Because I started realizing that even though San Quentin Level 2 is a main line, and there was a gang of lifers there, most of them were pieces of shit, to be honest with you. You know, they were telling on people, you know. You have a situation, man, where guys aren't getting out of prison. And they're doing everything they can to get out. And my mindset was, look, if they're not going to let me out of prison, I'm just going to get comfortable and relax and do my artwork, go to hobby. I used to go to hobby like it was my job. And it was my job for me, you know. I go work with wood all day, and I go home at, you know, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon when the hobby closed, and I'd kick back for count, go to dinner, then I'd paint at night. I'd go walk the track for a while and then paint late at night, stay up painting. You know, then when I had a phone, I'd stay up even later at night and be on my phone, you know. But that was my program, man, and I started doing well, and guys got envious, man, and they start, you know. Like, here's the deal. San Quentin, you could have tools in your cell as a woodworker. There were guys back in the day that had every tool you can imagine. Hammers, chisels, mallets to hit. They were in there carving wood in their cells. These guys used to make little cable cars and put a music box on it, and they'd sell them for $50 a pop. And they'd be guys that had, you know, during lockdowns back in the day, man, in San Quentin, they'd have 200 or 300 of those things done in a 3 or 4 or 5 month lockdown, 6-month lockdown. They'd walk out with 200 or 300 cable cars all made that they made in the cell, because you could have little hand saws. Dudes had vices welded to their bunks so they could hold, you know, stuff in a little vise. You know, so that was a kind of tradition of San Quentin. And of course, you know, a lot of the staff didn't like that, because, you know, you're making money, and it doesn't matter, because they can't, you know, as long as you don't violate the program, they can't really take it. But they kept trying and trying and trying. And they have a store out front where people could buy stuff. And the goon squad used to always rush them, because they would take the guys from the minimum yard, the camp yard, and put them out there to work as a clerk in the store. And the goon squad would always bust them. And they even said if they can't bust them, they would set them up, because they did not like having that store out there. Part of it was they thought guys were smuggling shit, you know, and whether they were or not, I don't know, you know. I mean, it's a long route to go from having a visitor bring something to a clerk in the hobby store. He's got to strip out, go back to level 1, figure out how to go from the level 1 to level 2 inside the walls. That's a long route. So I think that they were reaching, you know. It was just their excuse. And because it's called S&I, Security and Investigation. That's a goon squad. And because it comes from them, you know, other staff like the wardens, the deputy wardens, associate wardens, they would listen to them. So we always had the problem with the store being open. But with the tools in the cell, they were still going on. Guys still had tools in the cell. And there was this one dude, man, he had just a gang of shit. And I mean a gang of stuff. He used to get these big, you know, model ships. They were like, some of them were like 3 or 4 feet long, man. And he'd make a little thing to hold them. And, you know, it's a model, but it's wood. And if you ever see those things, you think, ah, yeah, model ship, big deal. They're not just big deal model ships, and the instructions were in Italian, so he couldn't read them. And but he would put those things together right there on his bed, man. He'd roll his mattress up. It's a cookie sheet, so he'd have all that shit, all his tools, you know, and he'd just be doing it, man. And he'd sell them things for a few $100. He also made little pool tables, man, and they were jewelry boxes. The top would slide out, and they had little balls and cute, you know, cue sticks. It was cool, man. He made a lot of money doing that. And then he started making humidors. And, you know, personally, I didn't like his shit. I thought it was kind of hokey. He didn't really have a background in woodworking. He just knew how to make certain stuff that made him money. And he thought it was great. You know, like, I'm into oil and wax and wood or shooting lacquer. He would just gob this stuff on there with a brush. Shellac, super shiny. Go, oh, people love it. I'm like, all right. You know, but he had a gang of tools in his cell. And another one of his hustles, because he was a dope fiend, he liked to shoot pills. If you needed a toilet seat cover made out of wood, if you needed a TV stand, you know, guys would put a piece of wood with strings where to hold their TV, he would make them. He made toilet paper roll holders, hooks for your walls, you know, shelves, if you want a shelf to put up somewhere. You know, the cops would knock them down, but he'd make them. And he charged for that stuff. And, you know, he had 840 dudes in that building, and a lot of guys bought his stuff. And he had all the tools in his cell. He could rough cut it in the hobby shop, bring it home, work it a little bit. He had drills. He had a little hand drill, you know, a little drill, you go like that. He had one of those in his cell, and he had a bunch of different bits. And guys were hating on him, you know, and they'd be, oh, that fucking dope fiend, he's going to fuck the hobby up. I go, what do you mean he's going to fuck the hobby up? He's allowed to have that stuff, you know? Oh, he's got too much stuff in there. And I'm like, what's too much stuff, you know? They were just hating on him because he was doing big shit, you know? So they were always telling on this guy, trying to fuck him over, get him kicked out of hobby. I used to tell them dudes, hey, man, you're ratting on that guy. You know, don't be ratting on him. You know, they dropping dry snitching on him and shit. And I'm like, dude, if you don't like that guy, just go down there and bust him up. Don't try to get him kicked out of hobby. And the guy wasn't a tough guy. He was just an old dope fiend, you know. You know, they give out pills in there for pain. You know, morphine and, I don't know, some other shit. And, you know, guys... you know, they don't take them, they whatever, and they sell them. So this dude would shoot probably 20 pills a day, 30 milligram morphine pills. He was a fucking dope fiend, but he had a hustle to earn his money and, you know, buy his pills every day. And them dudes hated him. So that's what prison had became. So not only are people envious of you when you've got a dope sack, they're envious of you when you're doing it legally too. Because they're too fucking stupid to figure out how to make more money out of a legitimate legal hustle, you know. And I had the same problem, you know. I was selling artwork, I was selling woodwork, I was doing woodwork, and you know, guys were hating on me, man. So, and I ran around with a couple other guys. One of them I'd like to interview here. He's out now. People hated on him. My friend David, he's a little different, you know. He's a lot of guys hated him, man, because they would talk shit about him and say, oh, that guy's no good. And I said, well, why is he no good? You know, oh, well, you know. I said, no, I don't know, you know. You know, he had a lot of hustle, he had a lot of game, and he was using, partying, so what? You know, he had game, and they didn't. People hate people that got game. I don't know about out here, you know. I've never been like that. If a guy's doing well, especially if he's got a legal hustle, I mean, the hobby was a hustle. If you got a legal job, if you got a personal business, whatever, guys start doing really good, I think it's fantastic. I'd like to see everyone do good, you know. So that's a little thing, you know. If you see someone doing well, don't be envious, you know. Figure out how they're doing it, and maybe you could get some game and come up yourself, you know. My thing is, I learned from guys that were older, you know, when I went in. Look, There were guys in the hobby when I went in there that was he was doing silk screening in the hobby, and he would put the front of San Quentin, the building, and he put San Quentin State University School of Higher Knowledge. And that dude made thousands of dollars making them sweatshirts and shirts. It's just one screen, whoop, one color. He sold the crap out of them. And then, they took that away. No more silk screening in the hobby. Shirts, no more clothing, Because another thing the staff didn't like about the hobby store was we made money. And here's the deal. If you have an independent way to make money in prison, then you don't have to have a job like I didn't. I got tired of working for the state, so I was like, fuck, I'm just going to lay around a hobby. I'd walk the track, work out, hobby. That's what I did. If I didn't feel like working with wood today, I'd have to. I could just sit in my cell and paint and go walk laps, do some push-ups, whatever, go back to the pad. They don't like that. They like it. You're either broke, right, begging. They love dope fiends in there who are always in debt because when they get in trouble, they can pump them for information. Give them a fucking radio that you're not allowed to have anymore so they could go sell it and pay their drug debt or something like that, right? So they love dope fiends that are broke. And they like broke guys because they like to see guys walk around miserable with no money. If you got no money coming in, how the hell you buy toothpaste, coffee, all your necessities? So, so they like that. And also, they don't like guys with money. Because if you're making money off a hustle like hobby, it's legit. It goes to your books. There were guys, there were years I made, $5,000, whatever. There were guys that were making 10, 15 grand a year off hobby in prison. So, and that was in the 80s and 90s, But they hate that. They do not like you see you with money sitting in a prison cell comfortable. They want you miserable. They want you dependent on them. Kind of like out here, the more people dependent on the state, the more happier some politicians are. It's the same way in there. They want you broke, so you got to go to the chow hall for your food. You got to sweat them for a little bullshit job to make a couple dollars. It keeps the prison functioning. They need inmates to keep the prison functioning. They'll give you 5 cents an hour, up to $1 an hour. Depends on what level of servitude you are on. It's just so they really hated on the hobby, and yeah, it was ugly. But then you had guys, trying to ruin the hobby, and that was my thing there in San Quentin. That was hobbying. But I started noticing though, all these guys that were lifers, been down a long time. They're all, not all, but a lot of them turned into whiny little bitches, crying all the time about shit, complaining about the next guy. I'm like, dude, right? I don't want to hear that shit. So, anyways, I've been working and I get a little burned out, so I forgot part of the things I wanted to say yesterday, so I thought I'd make another one real quick. And my videos might be a little shorter, but they're gonna be coming, and I have some interviews lined up with some serious folks and some not so serious, but I have some interviews lined up that hopefully will take place soon. And in the meantime, I keep doing videos, and you'll have to pardon the length of them are not quite as long, but with my job, I do get kind of burnt, and I have to come home and do a little bit of this and do a little bit of this and talk to the Hard Intentions Army out there. Whack, I talked to Whack today, and he read some stuff to me over the phone that he was reading off the internet. This guy in Washington, Fauci or whatever, is saying that if the country opens up a little too fast, they're expecting like up to 250,000 people could die. So he's worried about healthcare workers and all that kind of stuff. So be safe out there, please. Take your safety, your health serious, man, because it's no joke. I'm down here working with homeless people. I'm putting trash cans out, cleaning up around their areas where there's porta potties and portable sinks, and that way they're not shitting in the streets in front of people's houses, right? Which we also clean up. It's a forensic company. Thank God I met someone that would hire me and give me a decent job. Thank you very much, boss. But anyways, I'm in the mix. I wear a mask. I wear gloves. I wash my hands quite a bit. Please do the same. Take care of your health. Take it serious and do it hard. Thank you very much, folks. Have a good evening or morning, whichever it is where you're at. Thank you very much, and we'll continue this story as the prison world turns next time. Thank you very much. We love you guys. For real. Thank you.